And welcome back to Troll Time. I'm your host, Ivan D. Curtis, aka the Troll King. And this is the show where we talk sports, movies, or anything thought provoking. Today, of course, we'll be speaking WNBA news, trades, and everything. Also, we'll get into a little bit of the flying objects that's been going around in the WNBA. And of course, we'll do some game recaps from last night's games, and then it's only one game on the schedule for tonight, so we'll give a preview about that. If you've been following the show, you know I don't do it alone. Hey Willie, what's going on with you?
Hey man, I'm happy to be back in the saddle as always, man. The dub is never fails when it's stuff to talk about, man. Like getting ready for this season with all these scouting reports and clients and things that we're dealing with in the season going forward. So yeah, man, I'm happy to be talking about this thing.
Yeah, me too. We missed you guys last week. A lot of people had prior engagements that they needed, some business they need to handle, but we plan to be here every Wednesday if possible at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Getting right into it. I guess the flying objects, man, that's been going on in the arena. I guess it's unfortunate, and I will say this: like, of course, I love to laugh about almost any and everything. Sometimes stuff that isn't even laughable, but it forces conversations that you have to have as a parent at these games because it's kids, at these games, young girls, young boys, and it's just an unfortunate chain of events. And it started in Atlanta, and the trend was that it was happening at Valkyrie games because the first few games were Valkyrie games, but then now we had one even as last night with the Sparks and the Fevers, and I think Sophie Cunningham got hit, if I'm not mistaken, and then Kelsey Plum kicked it off the floor, but I'm just like, man, okay, I get it, but now it's just like, come on, man, like we gotta find something new uh, I won't even say to spark interest because this don't even have nothing to do with the game, but just getting your quick thoughts about the flying objects that's been going on at the WNBA game.
Hey man, you've said something before that resonates in a lot of different areas, brother. With growth, there are lots of good things. There are maybe some other things that happen too that happen when you experience growth. There's a yin and a yang for everything, but I'll say this, man, this is too far in the negative. And I certainly understand when you start seeing different tweets and things from longtime fans of the W, OGs like we are. You'll see some people saying, hey, with this new fandom, there are just a lots of things that are going on from an unsavory standpoint that, quite frankly, we don't need, that we didn't have when we had the original gangsters as it relates to WNBA fans, man. So with this growth, we're seeing this again. We're seeing this explosion of new eyes on the game, and oftentimes people are bringing political views that are part of the game that unfortunately shouldn't be part of the game, and using the game to make statements. It's unfortunate that those types of things are going on because, to your point, not only is it forcing parents to have conversations with their, I got a young child that maybe they shouldn't have to have right now. The other thing you got to bring into account too is player safety, right? Like if someone gets hit and they get seriously injured, whether they slip on something, get hit in the head, all these different things that can happen when we start talking about player safety. And again, um, we may be entering into a stage where it's almost like flying, right? Like you come to these games and you have to be inconvenienced for the betterment of everybody else to make sure everybody is safe. We got to check everybody for everything. And I think we're getting into that space because we can't depend on humans to stop acting like damn fools, man. And it doesn't make any sense, brother.
No, you're correct. I hope it's something. I mean, I think they're going. I think security, WNBA security, is going to buckle down, and those searches probably going to become way more extensive than they have been in the past because it's not a good look. I mean, and like I said, for me, I just look at it forcing combos that you don't even want to necessarily have.
Can I say something, brother,
Yeah.
about what you were just saying too, man? The other thing too is the other thing that sparked the growth in the W is how accessible these players are. Before the game, after the game, they're signing autographs. People, fans are giving them gifts. Little girls are giving them gifts. They are so accessible. That's been part of the growth of the game. And if we keep having incidents like that, to your point, the W is going to have to address the accessibility of players. And that's going to be unfortunate because you're going to have fans that are the good fans, which are the overwhelming majority of fans, missing out on opportunities to connect with their great players that maybe they don't get in the other league because the other leagues are much more bureaucratic as they're much more established, talking NBA, NFL, etc. The W fan-friendly environment accessibility is one of the things or the few of the things that have spurred this growth. And man, this type of behavior can stop that train for sure. And we don't want to see that, man.
No, I agree. I want to give a quick shout out to my brother Cheek Mula that's in the chat. He does a lot of great
Third,
things in the New York City area. Check out his Facebook page, Cheek Mula, CheekMula. Appreciate you for stopping by, brother. Moving along to WNBA trade news. A lot of things. I'm gonna probably start back from August 1st because it's a lot of things been happening within the last week. Just hitting on the highlights. Chloe Bibby signed with the Indiana Fever for the rest of the season contract. Huge for them. Big that can stretch the floor, plays defense. I think that gives them the much needed depth in that front court that they need from time to time, especially going into the playoffs. Emma Messiman signed the rest of the season contract with the New York Liberty. And when you talk about the rich getting richer, that gives them that. I think it's an insurance policy for Jonquel Jones and now, unfortunately, Breanna Stewart. You get a ton of skill and experience in the front court with that signing. So that's huge for the New York Liberty. And then the big news, aside from I seen Alyssa Peely sign a 7-day contract with the LA Sparks. Of course, that's probably just going to be temporary. But then when I'm looking at the bigger scheme of things, if we just fast forward to a day or so ago, you had Brittany Sykes traded from the Washington Mystics to the Seattle Storm, and then you had Dejanay Carrington traded to the Minnesota Lynx for Diamond Miller. It's other intangibles with these trades, but that's just the highlight of it. Me personally, I understand the Washington Mystic trade because to me, what it tells me is that she wasn't going to be there next year anyway. If they was really planning on keeping her, they wouldn't have traded her. So this is kind of like get it while the iron is striking hot, because if Brittany Sykes has had a good season, I wouldn't say a great season, but she's had a good enough season to pique some interest of some teams. So you might as well get rid of her for something instead of nothing at that point. And then the Dejanay Carrington trade. Obviously, I think Cheryl Reeves is one of the best GMs in the WNBA because she takes players from other teams that probably wasn't as notable at the time, and they've become real key figures for the Minnesota Lynx. Now, of course, I'm not talking about Carrington to that magnitude because she's been solid, but I'm talking about Elena Smiths, and those type players that she's made. Courtney Williams, I mean, has been around. She's been a journeyman woman in the league, and it's been unfortunate because if you look at some of the players that have moved around in this league and look at some of the teams that they've came from, those organizations are not known for making good acquisitions
Come on,
via
man. Come
via
on, man. I know what you're doing, man.
It's three teams that come to mind: the Connecticut Sun, the L.A. Sparks,
Come
and
on, man.
and the Chicago Sky. I just don't believe they do a great job of acquiring players and keeping the right players and getting rid of the right players, for lack of better terms. But I like that trade for Diamond Miller because I feel like she's going to get more of a chance to showcase her talents. Dejanay Carrington is now you would call a veteran in the WNBA, where she's in a situation where potentially could win a championship, and I like that for her. But that's my spill on that. I'll let you give your thoughts on all the trade news and everything that's happened thus far.
Come on, man. You had to shots fired when it came to my Sparks. I know we talk about them all the time with players around the league that are doing their thing that were former Sparks, and Eric McDonald in Indiana is one of them. But I want to say this: the Sparks did have, as we named all of these different acquisitions as it relates to people strengthening their teams, gaining acquisitions, gaining great players or good players for roles on their respective teams. The Sparks did have a pickup around this that's been relatively recent. That's Cameron Brink, right? And adding her to the equation, giving her energy, her ability to. Everybody talks about bigs, especially stretching the floor, and guards too, but big stretching the floor as shooters. Cameron Brink, her first basket back was a three, but she also stretches the floor as somebody that runs the floor. Big stretch the floor when they rim run, and she's a huge rim runner. And the fact that she does that and she does that so adeptly, I think really helps the Sparks get easy points. It helps them defensively as well because she had 4 blocks last night. So that's a good pickup for the Sparks. But no, very active trade deadline. You said something about Brittany Sykes as it relates to her being traded to Seattle from Washington. I think what it indicates is, like you said, not only does it indicate she probably wasn't going to be back, it indicates that Washington, now owning 3 first-round picks next year, has a direction. They own theirs and 2 more. They own Seattle's and there's one more that they own as well. But they own 3 first-round picks. Washington has a direction. Their direction is we are going with the young guns, and we're led by Kitron, as they call them, Kiki and Sonia Citron doing their thing. And then, of course, we got to add to that as well a player that's played amazingly well in the comeback season. Shakira Austin has been balling, man, this year. So definitely Washington is going with the youth movement. They have a direction. That's noted because with them owning their own first-round pick next year, they can continue to go with their direction. 2 of those 3 teams that you named about not making the strongest transactions, Dallas, no, I'm sorry, Chicago and my Sparks don't own their first-round picks next year. So they got to win now. So it's important what's going on with the Sparks now. They got a little bit of momentum because they don't own their pick next year. So those are all things that stood out to me. And then to your point as well, I think Diamond Miller being in Dallas is intriguing because they need a wing with some versatility, can score in the paint, be on the perimeter, give some athleticism, plays on both ends of the floor. They need a player like that. I like that for the long term. I like what's going on in Dallas with Diamond Miller too, man.
No, I agree. And some other news that took place during that time. Zia Cook, she was in that trade. She was ultimately released from the Washington Mystics, and Carly Samuelson was waived too as well in parts of the trade. So none of these are really surprising at the end of the day. Haley Peters signed the rest of the season contract as well with Connecticut Sun. I like her, but then she also was released as well. Like, it was a lot of acquisitions where players were signed and then released, and a lot of different movements. And I think when you talk about some of these organizations caught in a win now, situation, all due to I want to say mishandling of draft picks. Because if you're gonna mortgage your future, which is when I'm talking about in draft picks, it has to be a for sure shot. Because although it's just based on potential with the draft, you still have a chance with a younger player that you can develop in the draft versus trading away that potential of a younger player for a veteran player that maybe doesn't pan out.
And makes more money probably
E-
than that younger player. No question, brother.
Exactly. So like it gets real tricky when you start doing that. I mean, and to be fair, a lot of different organizations, like a lot of people are, of course, they want to be in the pursuit of winning the championship. But if you're being realistic, not every organization is going to be in that situation. So you really have to figure out where you're at right now and what are you doing to make steps to progress towards that. And I think you see a lot of organizations right now in shambles, and we'll talk. I'll really get in more in depth to that when we start breaking down some of these recaps for these games that happened last night. Because there's teams that have players that are out, and that ultimately is dictating the success or lack of success on the floor. So that's just something to look out for. You got anything you want to mention on that topic before we move forward?
Nah, man, we're good, man. I'm ready to start talking about some of these games because I'm certain that as we talk about some of these games, we'll come up with some more points about these teams and the directions for sure, man.
Yeah, I will say the Tierra McCowan being waived by the Dallas Wings. I guess I was kind of fitting that in to where you were talking about youth movements. I think that's where Dallas is headed to. And I think it's a funny thing with Dallas before we get into these game recaps, because I think they did a great job in the draft. Aside from the known number one pick, their other picks play. They made the team and they play. So that means and they produce. So that means you've done a great job in the draft. Now on the back end, those players were competing with veteran contract players. And now you have to make a decision. Am I going with these young guns, like you said, that's going to make less, that can produce enough, or if not more, and I think that's what they chose. Because when you look at, I kind of seen the writing on the wall, because when you look at Isaiah James and Dejanay Carrington, who pretty much play the same position, but Isaiah James could put it in the bucket. And she also plays defense. So it kind of made the choice easy there when you saw that she can come into a game and contribute right away offensively. Because like with Dejanay, yeah, she is an improving offensive player, but she doesn't give you the same I think output as Isaiah James when we talk about offense.
Yeah, that ability to create your own, right? Right.
So
Yeah.
So hopping right into it, I mean, the first game we recap is the Dallas Wings and New York Liberty. The New York Liberty took care of business 85-76.
Can we do this, man? From yesterday.
That's the signature in the W, man. The signature.
Well, the page doing last night.
Hey, I'm telling you. Speaking of Jonquel, she had 15 points, 10 rebounds. Almost every starter for the New York Liberty scored in double figures, aside from Sabrina Ionescu, who had 9 points. But she's been on a tear lately, almost averaging 30 points in a stretch. But Stephanie Talbot off the bench had 13. Just a solid overall team win for the New York Liberty. Dallas Wings, Paige Beckers, 21 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists. And then you had Enrique, 14 points, 3 for 12 from the field. Just not a strong offensive output from the Dallas Wings. Isaiah James struggled, I wouldn't say struggled. She only played 9 minutes, had 4 points, 6 rebounds. Maddie Seegers, 13 points, 6 for 9 from the field. in 15 minutes. And that's another name I think also with Seagrass getting healthy. Sign Haley Jones, who's been playing well. She started last night.
Amen.
Um,
I was
so,
giving, yes, sir.
but
Yes,
yeah.
sir.
Before I flip it over to you, though, Leona Fibic stepped in for Stewie, 14 points, 4 assists. She's kind of like a high major utility player who steps in when need be, whether that's scoring, whether it's defense, or whatever. Whether she's coming off the bench or whether she's a starter, she produces no matter what. Your thoughts, Willie, on the Dallas Wings and New York Liberty matchup?
First off, Emma Meeseman was hooping last night. And it's crazy because when you look at great teams, one of the things that we talk about talent all the time, but when you look at great teams, and we see this in Minnesota as well, it's no coincidence that Minnesota and New York are tracking for another matchup in the finals. They're gonna dance again, provided health is everybody's healthy. But whether it's Emma Meeseman, whether it's Leone Fibic, when you see great teams, what great teams value, sure, they value talent, sure, but they really value basketball IQ, players that are smart enough to play in multiple positions, multiple plays. We can take bigs, put them in a high post, facilitate our offense through the big. When you have teams that do that, and you have players that literally play with that high basketball IQ, that's one of the things that's underrated when you start looking at great teams and championship caliber teams. Everybody talks about talent, and rightfully so. You got to have that. You got to have them dogs, but you also got to have dogs that play with a high basketball IQ too. And again, players that when you play with a high basketball IQ, it really doesn't matter what system you play in. You can fit in and play anywhere. And that's one of the things with they've only had Emma Meeseman. They talk about it a lot on the broadcast. She didn't even have a chance to practice, and she's practicing playing with coaches 3-on-3. Sandy Brondello out there getting buckets because Emma Meeseman has not had a chance to really incorporate herself with the team and ingratiate herself with her teammates. But nonetheless, again, highly skilled, high basketball IQ, can play with other great players. The other thing I'll say about this game too, even though Dejanay is not in Dallas, when you look at Stephanie Talbot, when you look at a player again like Emma Meeseman, when you look at a player like Haley Jones as well, it all goes back to what we were saying, how situation is just as important as your talent. Same with Dejanay, right? Dejanay's rise started playing for a team that was in contention for championships in Connecticut. That's when she started taking her major steps because she's the type of player that if you put her on the team that's not good, she's okay. You put her on the team that's great, Dejanay is going to be very, very impactful because of the way that she plays. There are lots of players that are like that. She's one of them, brother. And, so again, when you have that, Stephanie Talbot is like that as well, former Spark, right? She was with the Valkyries earlier. Again, situations matter. One of my favorites, Veronica, situations matter. She's gotten the ball. Microphone don't want to work with me, but she's gotten the ball and she's doing her thing. So I say that, man, because situations are big as it relates to player development, getting opportunities, putting yourself in the right situation that'll allow you to stretch, be great in the present, and be greater later. So I just wanted to say that.
No, I agree. It's a lot of. I think people don't always understand that when you go to a good team, you being great in your role is all that matters. You don't have to do everything, and I
No
think
question.
you almost become more valuable than you would if you were on a lesser team and having to do everything. So
No doubt.
it matters, and it's shown throughout the season that situations matter for a lot of these players because they go from one team to the next, and then the next thing you know, it's they're having a much better season.
No
That New
doubt.
York Liberty improved to 18-10. Dallas Wings fall to 8-21. A matchup last night that every day on my page I post the pre games and I ask people basically who you got. And most of the time, when it's a Chicago Sky, everybody assumes they're either going to lose or they're going to get blown out, which is not a bad assessment because it's been happening as of late, and especially without Angel Reese. But tonight, last night, they came out and they set the tone early, outscoring the Mystics 25-10, and basically never looked back after that. So they went on to defeat the Mystics 78-64. The Chicago Sky is now 8-21. The Mystics are now 13-16. And a lot of things aside from the game, I think Kiki had mentioned about the departure of Brittany Sykes and Sika Cone, who hadn't played, who was a suspension, but obviously was still around the team and still having a profound effect on the players, especially the young players. Kiki mentioned about that, and it comes with the business. Like she said, it was her first like real welcome to the W moment, where realizing, hey, you can be here and gone, in a matter of time, and that's the
UGK, one day you're here,
and the
and then
next,
you're gone.
all right. So it's like that's the nature. That can easily be the nature of the business. So tough scene, but it happens. But man, I want to tip my hat to Camila Cardoso last night. 16 points,
Killer.
13 rebounds, 8 for 12 from the field. Elizabeth Williams, 18 points, 10 rebounds. Michaela Oyenwere, 12 points. And Ariel Atkins returned. She had 15 points and 5 assists. Didn't get much from the bench. 12 points from the bench, but enough. On the other end, Sonia Citron and Kiki were the only players scoring double figures. Sonia Citron had 13. Kiki had 10 points, 6 rebounds. A tough night for the Mystics, and it's going to be interesting to see how they bounce back following this trade because, barring everything, Brittany Sykes was the lone veteran that was contributing. Shakira Austin had 8 points, 5 rebounds, 5 steals, but I imagine it's going to be tough for them. But on the other hand, Angel Reese is out. Been out for a while now. The last listen I seen was about her back. And the timetable is, saying anywhere from, tonight and moving forward. Now, obviously, they don't play tonight. But this is going to be interesting to see how it plays out with that because I think a decision is nearing to be made and what they're going to do in Chicago as well. But hats off to them for getting the dub last night. Your thoughts, Willie?
Yeah, it's interesting, man. To your point, I kind of thought it would be a rough night. When you lose a veteran like that, an all-star player in Slim, Brittany Sykes, sometimes the team will get that one game sugar rush, and then you get all these people that don't know anything about basketball. Oh, they're better off. Nah, man, they just got a one game sugar rush without this type of player. Or ends up like it was last night, where the team is really, really flat. Because after all, Slim was not only as an all star, Slim was giving them 20 points a game pretty much. And that's 20 points coming right out of your lineup. So, with that being said, and also, too, the other thing that Slim gave them also, Slim has improved as a playmaker, but man, she also gets after it on the defensive end of the floor, playing great positional defense as a guard. Also, too, one of the people that does an amazing job of playing passing, getting the team out in transitions where after she gets a steal. So that's a big, big, big blow to a team. And then, another player that Slim is not a player that when she's on the team, she's quiet and doesn't have a presence. Another player that has a presence off the floor, has a presence as it relates to energy. So, this team, like you said, will have to adjust to not having that type of impact, not only the but the defense and the personality moving forward. Yeah, Chicago was interesting last night. We look at what's going on when they don't. We talk about how they play when they play both of their bigs together. This is a team that I don't know how they do it because they don't. People. I've seen a lot of talk about Chicago didn't make any acquisitions or not. They're sitting on their hands as it relates to improve the team. But when you don't have your first round pick for next year, and you're in the middle of what's going on with the CBA as well, which is dictating what you would do with first round picks in 27, 28, and all, because we don't know what's going on with the CBA right now. So you don't have 26. Everything beyond 26 is sort of up in the air as it relates to what the collective or bargaining agreement is going to look like. Is there a rookie scale? All these different things that are in the air that have to be collectively bargained. It's hard to make moves for the future like that when you don't own your 26th pick. So it's interesting moving forward what Chicago does. Like you said, you have Washington that clearly has a direction, and then you have Chicago trying to skate in both lanes, trying to let's develop these young guys, these young players, but let's now. And to your point, Dallas made a choice. So Dallas made the choice of we're trying to develop our young players. So did Washington. Then you got Chicago skating in both lanes. So it's interesting watching both of these teams because as we watch the development on the floor, there are going to be peaks and valleys, like you said before. But there are things that are operating in the periphery that are dictating what's happening in the future. And I know some fans get frustrated, but we got to see how this collective bargaining agreement plays out. All these different things moving forward.
Right. Hey, check your phone when you get a chance. Hey, Willie. The next game we're going to cover is the Indiana Fever and the LA Sparks. LA Sparks defeated the Indiana Fever 100-91. The Sparks moved to 13-15, and the Fever are now 17-13. Now, ironically, these are two teams that have been on winning streaks and had them snapped. LA was the one who snapped the Indiana Fever streak at 5 games, but this was a pretty good game. The second quarter is what separated this game, where the Sparks outscored them by 12 points. Aside from that, it's been pretty much successful for the Sparks when Rakia Jackson, Kelsey Plum, Azura Stevens, and De'Arica Hamby, when they go off. And that's what exactly happened last night. Rakia Jackson and Kelsey Plum both had 25 points apiece. Azura Stevens, 19 points, 5 rebounds, and then De'Arica Hamby, 16 points, 7 rebounds, and 3 assists. And then they managed to get 10 points off the bench. But when they're performing like that, they're pretty tough to beat. And I say this because all 4 of these players play defense. They all are capable 20-point scorers at any given moment. And that's pretty much what happened last night. They all can shoot the ball from the perimeter. So this is really a budding young team when you throw Kelsey Plum in there as the key veteran. But even Hamby, I guess, but really Hamby and Stevens, but I think they're having a moment where they're on a team that's their team. Like they're no longer the role players. Like they play a factor in what happens for the LA Sparks, and they've been doing pretty good in that role. Now, you mentioned Cameron Brink, who just returned last night. She had 5 blocks, 3 rebounds, 16 minutes. Look, fluid. Really, I mean, a lot of people had their questions about where she was drafted at and her positioning and everything like that. But if you really watch Cameron Brink for a long time, even back in college, I mean, she's a multifaceted player. The length, she has things that you cannot teach, and that's height, length, and she's very mobile, and she can shoot the ball from the perimeter. She can handle the ball. I mean, she's very skilled, and I think she's gonna fit right in with that front line when she's really, really going at. As of right now, LA is a game out from the playoffs, and it will be key if they make the playoffs. You definitely gonna need that depth, to make any type of playoff push. Flip it over to the other side. Indiana Fever are still without Caitlin Clark. The timetable that's noted on, I think I seen on ESPN is August 12th. But even in my mind, right now Indiana's sitting at the 5th seed. They've been playing really good without her. I don't see a need to hurry up and rush her back unless you know for sure that she is 100% and ready to go. I mean, I just don't I just don't see a need to rush back. I mean, I think they played well last night. Like I said, they let a quarter get away from them, but aside from that, they've been in every game, and they've had a chance to win almost every game. So I wouldn't rush her return. Kelsey Mitchell finished with 34 points, 6 assists. Natasha Howard, 17 points, 7 rebounds. Aaliyah Boston, 15 points, 9 rebounds. Nothing from the bench. And like I said, that's something we always focus on when teams lose games, whether it's close game, especially when it's a close game. Look at what you got from the bench, and just 2 points from Damaris Dantas, but aside from that, nothing from anybody else scoring. They barely even put up any stats, and that lets you know what type of night it was for the Indiana Fever. Your thoughts, Will?
Let's talk with the Fever first before we get to my W. We talk about this a lot as it relates to Aaliyah Boston. And Aaliyah Boston has again, another All Star year. But when Aaliyah Boston is dominant, even when Caitlin's not out there, Aaliyah, the Fever are very, very formidable when that happens. So when they get relatively pedestrian performances, and again, I mean pedestrian relative to Aaliyah Boston being one of the really, really good players, when they get so-so performances from her, that just puts a more of an emphasis getting. So I would certainly like to see her continue to be more dominant as it relates to scoring the ball, especially when Caitlin's off. So that's something that I want to see more from. But as it relates to my Sparks, we've been calling for this early, and I've been saying this all the time. As De'Erica Hamby, aka Big Guard, and of course Kelsey Plum have given you all-star caliber performances this year, that accelerates the need for Rickea Jackson to really, really start asserting her dominance as a versatile offensive force. And she's doing that. And the more that she's become much more confident in that role, I think also in addition to her talent, playing an unrivaled has helped. Again, she got that unrivaled bump as well. When she starts to really be assertive, it helps everybody else. Like I know there are sets times when they have her and Ray Burrell on the floor as well, and Ray Burrell has improved as an offensive talent also too. So looking at what the Sparks have going on, I think it's imperative, including Canberra Brink, continue to take that step because again, we're talking about a team where that's part of the reason why in the Brittany Sykes deal, Seattle was able to part with their first round pick because they own the Sparks first round pick for next year. So if you're the Sparks, when you don't own your one, you got to get into the playoffs. You got to make a run because you want that pick to be as low as possible. And you want to see these young players continue to take those major steps moving forward because they're going to help Big Guard and Kelsey Plum as we move forward here. And the other thing, too, as it relates to development, you want those young players to get playoff experience as early as possible because that's another way where you maximize the window of Azurá Stevens, Kelsey Plum, and Big Guard De'Erica Hamby.
Yeah. Just 2 more games left to recap. The next game we're going to talk about wasn't really a game. I mean, that Mercury jumped out on the Sun from the jump. It was 26-6 at the end of the first quarter. And I think then Connecticut pretty much played them even after that. But Satu Sabali, 23 points, 6 rebounds. Alyssa Thomas, another triple-double, 13 points, 12 rebounds, 12 assists, 3 steals. And DeWanna Bonner off the bench, 18 points, 7 rebounds. Kalia Copper, 15 points. Like I said, this is an easy win for the Phoenix Mercury. They're now 18-11. Connecticut Sun are now 5-23. Marina Mabry, 18 points. Tina Charles, 16 points, 7 rebounds. And, it's kind of what you expect from Connecticut from time to time. They have a lot of young players that's been integrated in and out of the starting lineup. Sometimes they show up, sometimes they don't, kind of what you expect, and young players, especially rookies. So it's also going to be interesting to see what they do in the offseason. I think they are getting some stability with Rivers. I think she's been playing well as a rookie. Anissa Morrow is going. I think she's going to get into the flow, and she's going to be a pretty good player for years to come. But they have to make some decisions about when you have young players that are seeking into that core of your team, you have to really put them around quality veterans, and which is Tina Charles is that. I think Marina Mabry is solid when she's playing well, but she's kind of up and down from time to time. But like I said, it's going to be interesting to see what they do. I like Leela Lakin. I like her for that team. Came in late, but I think she's a really good two-way guard. Plays a really good defense. Is capable of scoring the ball. So just Bria Hartley, I think, is played well for returning into the WNBA. But like I said, it's going to be a lot of decisions that need to be made for Connecticut. If you don't have anything, the last matchup of the night featured Minnesota Lynx. Well, actually, all three of those games were at 10 o'clock, so you had to pick your poison. But Minnesota Lynx and Seattle Storm. Minnesota Lynx took care of business on the road in Seattle, 91-87. The Minnesota Lynx are now 25-5. Seattle drops to 16-14, and I was kind of up in the air about this game because Nafisa Collier was not playing. But no Nafisa Collier, no problem, especially when you're getting contributions. And this is where I say Cheryl Reeves is one of the best coaches who gets the max out of anybody on the line and on their roster. Jessica Shepard, 13 points, 13 rebounds. Huge in the starting role to go along with 4 assists and 2 steals. Courtney Williams, 20 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. Kayla McBride, 14 points. Bridget Carlton, 12 points. And then Dejanay Carrington off the bench in her first Minnesota Lynx game, 13 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, 1 block, was 5 for 7 from the field and 1 for 1 from the three-point line in 18 minutes. Solid. And then Seattle Storm, Nneka Gumake, 23 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists. Erica Willard, 19 points, 4 assists. And then you had Dominique Malonga, the number 2 overall pick in the WNBA draft this year. She had 12 points and 3 rebounds in just 17 minutes. But I thought overall a great performance by Minnesota. Like I said, they were without Nafisa Collier, but still, when we talk about winning games like this without your star player, you look at the bench. 26 points from the bench. I would always say that 20-point range is solid. If you can get 20 points off your bench, you're in great shape. And that's exactly what they did and took care of business. Your thoughts, Willie?
Watching this game was interesting because, Seattle, I've been saying this for 2 years now. They can beat anybody and they can lose anybody. And obviously Minnesota is anybody. But I'm just saying they can show up and play well against anybody, play not so against anybody also too, which is a little bit puzzling when you start thinking about the amount of talent. Dominic Malonga has been really moving forward the last couple of turns of gaining her confidence off the bench, showing her it's not just potential, but she's showing what she can do in real time. And I've been very impressed with the way that she's played, and including keeping her energy level up. Because as we know, even when you're a high pick and you're a highly touted prospect, sometimes coming off the bench, sometimes players don't bring that maximum effort. Does not seem to be a problem for her. Love the way that she plays, continuing to show those skills that the now side and the upside, which I like. The thing about Minnesota too that you have to take into account when we talked about the situation with Dejanay Carrington. So not only does Cheryl Reeve do an amazing job of maximizing the production of players, like you said, she has synergy with two of the focal points of their team, the stud buds, right? Because they play together, play some very meaningful basketball in Connecticut. So with that being said, adding Dejanay is not only giving them a versatile, giving them a player that has synergy with two of the players that are important players on this current iteration of the Minnesota Lynx. It also gives them a player that has experience making deep playoff runs also. So as this team continues to make that march toward the playoffs, Dejanay ain't going to be scared because she's been there before, playing with Connecticut, a team that is trying to make that run, playing in a one step away from the finals, trying to get there. You know what that's like. And she had great success playing in college as well, playing on the big stage. So Dejanay ain't gonna be scared. So I like this addition with Minnesota was able to do. I'll say this really quick too about all of. Not only we've talked a lot about teams owning their pick in 26, not owning their pick in 26, and how that's going to impact decisions. The other thing that we need to talk about too, and as it relates to decisions being made, we got expansion teams coming online. So everybody's playing for spots. Who's going to be protected? Who isn't going to be protected? Will you be selected by an expansion team if all these different things are things that players are playing for as it relates to their current time and their current position W, but what's going moving forward as well, where they'll be, who they'll be with, how they'll be used. I think that's important too to mention.
Yeah, and I agree. I wanted to ask you, with the way Seattle season is going, it kind of looks like a mirror from last season. Do you think Noelle Quinn is on the hot seat?
Man, it's interesting because it's weird because to your point, they've been so inconsistent with the amount of talent that they have, and they've been relatively healthy. That's the other thing. They've had all their players for the most part at their disposal. So the lack of consistency with the talent is something to think about. But as I say that, but on the other side, you had Gabby Williams, for example, recently posted on IG. I think it was on IG or on Twitter. She was talking about Noelle as a coach and her ability to connect. And so these players like her. That's the other thing too. So with a veteran-laden team, but they rock with the coach, that's going to be a very, very tenuous if they move on from her. But if you're management and you look at it, I don't. She's from the West. Of course, I want to see coaches and players from the West do their thing because your boy has ties to the West. Man, I also love Noelle Quinn. Y'all know that. You know I stand me a Noelle Quinn. So I really want her to do well. But even though I want her to do well, I also know we're in the results-driven business also. But it's very tenuous because those veteran players rock with her. So Seattle moving forward, especially as we see a team that has Dominic Milan, a team that owns the Sparks for first round pick for next year, and with virtually everybody being a free agent, who's going to be back next year? Who's not going to be there if they decide to move on from Coach Quinn? That's going to be interesting, man. What do you think? What do you think, brother?
I think you made a valid point that when you talk about a veteran team being connected with the coach, it can do a lot for your organization. Meaning that if you were to get rid of her, you probably won't have players who want to get out. And I'm sure having Neka Agumake on your team, and if that's her coach, I'm sure
Our
that
president, our
yeah,
queen.
I'm sure that speaks volumes for that situation too. But at the end of the day, like you said, a team with that type of talent has been healthy. You gotta get some results. I think the Brittany Sykes situation is interesting because I think she gives them something they don't have, and it's a shot creator that can get a shot anytime she feel like it, can get to the rim. I just think she adds an element that they do. I think they have all the other ingredients to be a championship caliber team, but I think Brittany Sykes gives them something that they ultimately need because when you look at who started the game last night, you got Nneka Ogwumike, Gabby Williams, Ezzie, Skylar Diggins, and Erica Wheeler, but you don't have a wing that can put pressure on the defense. Gabby Williams is a scorer by opportunity, but she really is somebody who's just good at everything. She's not exceptional at one thing. She's good at everything. And like I said, when you're a scorer by opportunity, that's different than somebody like every time Brittany Sykes touched the ball, she's a threat to the defense. And I think she can, in this situation, she can draw attention and, for kicks, for dumps, or create for herself. And I think they don't have a player on their roster like that plays that style of game. And I think it's going to be when she gets into the lineup and gets to play. I want to see where does that take Seattle and what does that look like? Because I think Erica Wheeler has played really well this season for them. I think Skylar Diggins is
because we've been on her.
yeah, indeed, because she was one of the higher paid players last year and she did not produce. And then Skylar Diggins, I think, is playing out of her mind. This is one of her best seasons by far at the W. But I think adding that wing element to the play style of Brittany Sykes is going to be something to see. Before we get out of here, you got anything you want to get off your chest?
Before I say that, I just want to add to your point, man. Having is going to be something to see if they can get it right. Here's what I want to get off my chest. And for all the people that have been walking with us, y'all know the WWE. Shout out Naomi, keeping that title. Proceed with caution, let me say that. But here's the thing, man. I posted something about I missed the times when we had $1 McChickens, $5 footlong, and $9.99 WWE. Man, the WWE merger with ESPN, now I got to pay $30 a month so I can watch they call them premium live events now, pay-per-view and all that. I'm in my feelings a little bit about this. I am in my feelings.
I don't have anything to say. I mean, it's one game on the ballot tonight. I do believe that's the Las Vegas Aces and the Golden State Valkyries. Las Vegas is 15-14. Golden State is 14-14. And still, even with that record, they're doing great. They're actually holding on tight to that 8th spot. And that's saying a lot for a team that's in its first season in the WNBA. The Aces, on the other hand, they're at the 7th. A win for them could do some justice as they would probably tie Seattle for that 6th spot. So if the playoffs started today, you would have the Minnesota Lynx at 1, New York Liberty 2, Atlanta Dream 3, Phoenix Mercury 4, Indiana Fever 5, which is well above where anybody would have thought they would be right now, considering the games missed by Caitlin Clark. And like I just tell everybody, it's a team game. And you can have your best your best player in or out, but other players have to produce for your team to be any good. And Seattle at 6, Las Vegas at 7, and Golden State at 8. And the Lakers is creeping. I think the Lakers and the Mystics are going to be in for a fight. I think it's going to be just like similar to last year. 3 teams fighting for the last spot. I think this race will be between the Mystics, the Sparks, and the Valkyries to see where they stand. If the Valkyries don't make a leap, because I think they're capable of doing that. Aside from that, I just wish a speedy and healthy return for all the players that's been out, especially Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark. Is this talent that we need on the floor in the W? So that's pretty much it for me. Until we meet again next Wednesday at 6:30 Eastern Standard Time. Remember, we are here to laugh, show love, promote, talk sports, movies, joke, and troll. Catch us on the next episode.